Hey everybody, James here. And I guess this is a Cardano starter kit. I realized I wanted to give a little message to both the Plutus project-based learning team and to the Gimbal tokenomics project-based learning team. But then I realized that I also kind of wanted to share this with anybody else who might want to take a look. And so I think it's best just to go back to calling this a starter kit, providing this as an entry point for different sorts of work that are going on here at Gimbal Labs. So yeah, going to hope to keep this video short and just share a little bit of my thinking with you. So I just deployed my Gimbal token bounties experiment to an old URL, workshopmaybe.com. This is what I had before I got involved with Project Catalyst and was starting to think about the applicability of Cardano for local use cases. And so rather than leaving the placeholder that's been up there for a while, I'm going to just use it to house some of my own experiments. When Julie, Roberto, and I founded Gimbal Labs, we saw it as a small amalgamation of some independent work, in particular what Roberto was already doing with Dandelion and what I was already doing with some ideas around Workshop Maybe. And so even as we continue to run Gimbal Labs, and as that more and more turns into what it is and what it's going to be, this is my little corner of the internet where I can run my own experiments without asking for permission. So that's what you see here. So this project builds upon a template that we've been using already in Plutus project-based learning. So there's a repo right here that you can take a look at in GitLab. I'll include this link in the notes to this presentation. It's also right down here directly on this webpage. Whoops, looks like I got to turn that into a link, but there you can see the URL. Another URL that might be helpful if you haven't seen this yet is our PPBL Course 1 front-end project. We continue to build out the functionality and the utility of this, and anybody is welcome to pull this down and use it. And if you do, you'll see that the styling matches what you're seeing here on the bounty experiment that I've deployed. It even still says PPBL demo up here as the title in the tab. Okay, so you can use either the template that we've been working from or this particular project that I'm showing you right now. These are open source for anybody to come around and play with and start to build upon as you see fit. You can read what I wrote on this page. I am just so full of gratitude over the last few weeks that I keep feeling inspired in new and surprising ways. And that's the feeling that I want to have as often as possible, and that I think other people do too, right? We feel good when we start to have insights and to be inspired and to have clarity about what we can do next and how we can contribute. So as we talk about learning by doing, I also see all of us being inspired by action a little bit every day. We keep building towards new insights, new inspiration. And I hope that this project right here, serving as a proof of concept, can inspire you to action, okay? Within the context of Plutus PBL, that might mean testing out some of our escrow contracts. As I'll show you in a minute, when we think about bounties, we might think about somebody committing to a task and therefore funds being locked in escrow. Or perhaps just by creating a bounty in the first place, I should be locking up funds at a contract address instead of holding custody of them in my wallet. These are ideas that we can play around with, and we can expand tooling as we work on Plutus PBL capstone projects. With the context of Gimbal tokenomics PBL, groups are launching this week, and I'll post the latest voting ballot for allocation 0 later today. Groups might have different approaches to tracking the things they want to accomplish, but anybody who wants to is free to grab this repo and build upon it. More on that in just a moment. I'm going to continue to refine my thought here. I'm going to continue to build this little project out. You can see there is working tag functionality, for example, but I haven't done much yet with formatting these placeholders that show the list of open bounties, for example. I have work to do on the scope page as well. But what is here for anyone to see is an initial list of bounties that I would like some help with. Okay, so basically the story here, which I tell on the home page, I have about 1.4 million gimbals. Well, I guess it started at about 1.5 million gimbals that comprised my founder's allocation and my core team allocation of gimbal tokens. And my intention is to spend all of it, okay, by distributing my personal gimbals in return for help out with a lot of the tasks and the projects that I want to do. In doing so, I hope to give people a chance to start contributing, right? Whether it's to the broader Cardano community or to Gimbal Labs in particular. And more on that. That's part of the scope conversation too, is what is the scope of each of these tasks. So you'll see that each of these, has a scope tag once you click through. I could probably make this a little clearer, right? But again, a work in progress. So the list of bounties here are live. One of them is actually already complete, Redeemer construction. More on that in just a moment. And then the rest of these are tasks that are posted now and that anybody can pick up. If you're curious about any of these, you can click through. You can look at the outcome, how to commit to it. In most cases, it's simple for now. Just send me a DM on Discord and we'll get you started, okay? And then some notes on how this works. Now, you might read one of these and be somewhat interested, but you might find that I didn't do a good job describing the outcomes. And if that's the case, let me know, all right? Like everything, this is a work in progress, and the whole point of this action is to inspire us to figure out what to do next, how to improve upon it. What do people need to hear? What do people need to know in order to engage with this work, okay? We're really trying to build up ways for people to get involved and to use their skills. So for any of these, you'll see the date that I posted it. Here's today's date, all right? A Gimbal bounty and ADA bounty. So anybody, in this case, the first person to complete this one, I will send you 10,000 gimbals and 50 ADA. Some of these, we can navigate through like this, can be fulfilled more than once, okay? So here's a call to action. Write a recommendation for how to build upon this particular project, right? By proposing a content management system or a database or what APIs this kind of project might produce. And in this case, all I'm asking for is a plan that then we can bring to the TPBL technical group or to Plutus project-based learning, and we can build it out. If multiple proposals are adopted by Plutus or Tokenomics PBL, I'll pay this bounty more than once, okay? Each time 10,000 gimbals and 50 ADA. This is something we're working on within PPBL already. And so a slightly bigger bounty to really to run this and release it, okay? But I think this one is really important and it applies directly to this project because, for example, there are already changes in the PPBL Course 01 front end that are not reflected in this project that was forked from here, okay? So obviously that's inefficient to go back and reconcile changes over and over again, and having a public package is in our best interests immediately and will also help more devs use the tools that we're building. I also believe that this tool, as I mentioned before, might be helpful for some of the tokenomics PBL groups. So if anybody in the technical team wants to meet up with me and start to build out additional instances of this proof of concept right here so that other groups can use it, I think that would be really good to have your voice on this too. And one thing we might even do is collaborate on an extension video to this to show people how to use this repo right here. Okay. And finally, this project here uses the same content management. It uses a series of markdown files, which I'll show you in a minute, as the gimballabs.com website. So this project also serves as an entry point for somebody to take on content management of gimballabs.com. And so here's a time-based bounty where I'm looking for somebody who can keep gimballabs.com up to date. And if you could do that for 2 months, then this larger bounty would be paid. I think we have one more, do we? Oh, and Discord server management. Excellent. Here's another. This one can be completed more than once as well. So make one change in the Gimbal Labs Discord that demonstrably makes it more accessible or user-friendly. All right. Implement it. Show me that it works, and this bounty is yours. And I can imagine that we might pay this one out 2 or 3 or even 4 times. Okay. Now, I'm sure you still have questions. My goal is to put this work out into the world and then to start iterating on it with anybody who wants to. And already across the site, I've scattered about some next steps. Okay. So for example, one of the next steps I'm going to do, I didn't make a bounty out of this one yet, but I will start to do this. And I already have some additional bounties drafted. I just wanted to put up an initial set and not overwhelm everybody right away. But these bounty cards, for example, are built, but they're not yet employed on the tags view. So there's some stuff we can do with tagging and sorting. I put some next steps down here. What do you want to see in an on-chain transaction? Might we start to use escrow to manage bounties in some way? Okay, that's ongoing, and those are some questions I'll be asking myself this week. This piece down here, I haven't covered this yet, does draw from on-chain data. This is using the Dandelion GraphQL server to just pull down transactions that have passed through the address where I'm holding my gimbals, and then they contain in metadata a reference to this tag right here that matches this bounty up here. Okay, so this is just a naming convention. It's not standardized yet, but the I right there stands for individual, meaning this bounty is coming from me as an individual. All of these have an I at the front. Which individual? Me, JD. Okay. Which set of bounties is this? It's the first one, 00, and then the specific number, 000, and then 1, 2, 3, etc. All right. So these little tags, they serve as both the slug up here in the URL, but they will also be used in metadata when these bounties are paid. I built for myself a little form right here that I can use. Okay, so first I would have to have a connected NAMI wallet. This one is connected to testnet right now, so it's not going to work. Okay, but where I have a mainnet NAMI wallet, I can connect it. Watch this. If I press this right now, you're going to see. Oh, I guess it is connecting. Oh, it says wrong network. There it is. That's what we're supposed to see. Because I would need a mainnet connection. But once I have my wallet connected, I can just drop a receiving address here. I can match it to one of the existing bounties, right? Which then populates this memo here that's going to go on metadata. And then I can type the number of gimbals. Okay. Now this is just for me to make it easier, and this is a proof of concept. There's some logic here that this little form requires. For example, handling decimals. So you see there's a set of next steps that I'd like to do here. All right, let's maybe assign addresses to bounties in advance when people commit to them. And maybe this can auto-populate based on which bounty we choose, okay? Maybe completed bounties shouldn't show up in this menu anymore and be selectable, like the first one still is. And like I already noted, handling decimals, because a gimbal is defined to 6 decimal places, just like ADA is. So again, a proof of concept, but it works. And if I'm doing this right, this is gonna help other people take additional actions. I'm suggesting some actions here. I have some more ideas. And if you see something that you think should be on this list, let's reinstantiate this project and start putting out bounties for each tokenomics group, or even individuals are welcome to do this too. And if there's interest, I will be happy to do a live session building upon the overview that I'm providing for you right here and helping people learn how to implement this. So before I close this one out, just a quick look at what's going on inside of this project. There's a couple of places within the code here where I've hard-coded a metadata key and my wallet address. I need to extract those to an environment file to make it easier to edit this, so that's on my list. But the most important thing I want you to see is in the source folder. There's a few different things we could go through now, but I just want to show you this bounties folder. This is full of markdown files, and notice that the name of each of these markdown files matches those slugs I was showing you earlier, right? These end up in the URL at bounties/slug. And where this is drawn from is from this markdown file, which has a name that matches a slug, and various metadata is stored inside this file along with details, right? So I can look at this file here in GitLab, for example, or if you clone this repo, you'll be able to see this directly in markdown format. It'll look like this. We use these 3 lines to represent metadata at the top, okay? But you'll also notice that the text here matches what's here in this yellow box perfectly, because they're both coming from the same place. And so I just rigged up, according to the formal Gatsby documentation, a way of using markdown files. All right. And like I mentioned before, this is how content management works on gimbalabs.com as well. So this will serve as an entry point. But the key thing to recognize is that if you want to post a bounty, or if you want to create a group so that other folks can add bounties, this does require a little bit of technical knowledge, but not too much. You have to know how to add a file to a Git repo. That's teachable. That's something that anybody can learn how to do. And then you just need to understand how to copy from, this can basically serve as a template to start another markdown file, and that will then appear on the site. All right. As always, it's hard to know sometimes how much precisely to say, because I know that this might be overwhelming to some, but I also just want to give you just enough to start playing with this. And then I promise to help anybody who wants to know how to use this. Please just express your interest. Let's think about what next steps we can take here and build, whether it's tokenomics PBL, Plutus PBL, or just a general opportunity to learn. Again, I hope that this project right here gives us a chance to learn by doing and to be inspired by action. So thanks for checking out this video, and see you very soon. Cheers.